Fella goes to the doctors. He says, "We've got a bit of a problem." He says, "When I go for a crap," he says, "I crap out French fries." The doctor says, "What?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "I crap out French fries." Oh, he said, "That is really strange." He said, "I better send you to a specialist, you see." So anyway, he goes to a specialist, and the specialist says, "Well, I don't know." He said, "You better go to another specialist." So he goes to another specialist, and he goes back to the doctors, and the doctor sends him to loads of other specialists. And all the tests that he has and everything comes back, everything's perfectly okay. And the fella said, "I'm still crapping out French fries." He said, "Well, it's really weird." He said, "Well, do they sort of look like French fries?" He said, No. They're the colour of crap." He said, "They're crap," but he said, "It's just French fries that comes out." He said, "Well," eventually the doctor, he gets so sort of, he hasn't got an answer. He says to the bloke, he said, "Look," he said, "if I get a pot in," he said, "do you think you could sort of, have a crap in this pot?" He says, "Yeah, okay." So the bloke drops his trolleys, has a crap in the pot. And the doctor says, I've solved a problem." He says, "Don't wear a string vest." That's disgusting, isn't it? Now, tonight we got Survive on Steve. Hello, Survive on Steve. Survival on Steve. He's promoted himself. He's the Fuckham Survive on Steve. I like that term. That's good.
Yeah,
isn't
it was a field promotion.
That's it. Yes. Are you with or without portfolio? I've got a mug as well.
Oh, that looks familiar.
Cheers. Ding.
Cheers to you. Hey. And cheers to everybody watching tonight.
Well, as I say, I don't know if anybody saw last night's show, but we were supposed to be on Rumble, and we had a bit of a technical problem. The Rumble, sorry, I'm washing my words carefully. Wouldn't work via Rumble Studio. You experienced it, Steve, didn't you? We was talking away, and suddenly I get booted out the studio. It's software; it's not up to it.
Yeah,
it's crap.
And me and young Paul, I think we ended your show after probably insulting all your viewers.
So I couldn't actually carry on the show, and then what happened is that's happened 3 weeks running. So John Hamer and Andy were on last night, and what happened is John's computer is not up to working on Restream, which I was using, and it's sort of a bit like Billy Dainty, he's going, and then it went out of sync, so he would start talking when we're halfway through a sentence and didn't realise it, because Scarbados it is a time difference, isn't it, between Scarbados and Fockham Hall. It must be at least how many miles, milliseconds. Oh, yeah. So we got the time delay. Anyway, gave up in the end. I've been on the phone to John today, and I mean, it was really frustrating. He wanted to talk about his new book, but he's coming on again later on in a couple of weeks' time. So make a note in your diaries. He's going to come back and confirm a date. It'll probably be in February, so that's good. We've also got. I've been over to Miles's place, and I've used a bit of bribery and things like I gave him a couple of fat bobs, and offered him a Malteser. And he said no. I Malteser. So anyway, I raised the stakes, so I gave him 2 Maltesers, and he will be coming on in mid to late February, and we're thinking of doing a phone-in show, which would be interesting. Now the thing is, he said, "Oh no," he said, "I can only do it. The show only needs to be half an hour, so I can't do 2 hours." I said, "Yeah, hang on a minute. If you do a lecture, half an hour's long enough. But it's a show where you have a chat, and 2 hours is not long enough in many ways." So and then I said, "Well, we could do a phone in." Hey, his eyes lit up. "Oh yeah, yeah." So it won't be using your phones. It'll be coming through in the studio. You don't have to show your face or anything like that. It's not going to be gory stuff like talking about your piles or your granny's Nothing like that. We're going to sort of talk about things like how you can prevent aging with certain foods you can have, what foods to avoid, things like vitamins to get you through the winter. So it's going to be things like that. But he's brilliant. He's qualified. He's a very good doctor, and he's got a good sense of humour as well. So that's what we're planning. And so if anybody's got any suggestions, that's it. But we're not going to go down different routes, like, sort of talking about, I don't know, pregnancy, which, I mean, the blokes are just after our audience. All right, we're just going to do very light subjects, nothing heavy, and things for everybody to make them feel good. And that's it. That's it.
So, can't go wrong with that. I must be getting it wrong, because you said half an hour is okay for a lecture. Well, my lectures are about 6 hours long.
Well, for him. Well, yeah, but I won't be rude to Miles in case he's You're very good at instructing. You're trained instructor. You know what to do.
I can't be Miles that because nobody comes.
well, Miles, he's brilliant. In his shop, I'd love to record it, but of course there's customers coming in, and they come in, excuse my language, shit scared. They've been to see their quack, and they've got their prescription and that, and he can read prescriptions. He's qualified to do that. He looks at the prescription. He says, yes. And you see people sort of, and he said, I think I can help you. And you can see them relaxing. And some of the cures I've seen, I know I've said this before. I mean, there's a chap that had a stroke. He was about 6'3", this bloke, gentle giant. And Miles gave him some free acupuncture, put him in his hand, and various other, I think it was somewhere like that. And he said, I can move my hand. And I was sort of, wow. And he was always in tears, this bloke. Big, tough bloke, with tears. And Miles sort of looked up, you see, into another customer. He went, yeah, he will. And they carried on talking. It's so matter of fact. And this bloke, I could see him moving his hand where he couldn't do it before. He had a stroke.
All right. Well, I've had acupuncture before, and I must admit I was very impressed with it. It helped me out. Yeah. Should I go through my list of major accidents?
Oh, bloody hell.
That was following a parachute accident, that one, where I broke my pelvis.
Bloody hell. Oh, dear.
Yeah, that stung. Ooh.
I bet it did. Was it because, am I right in saying, please excuse my ignorance, in modern parachutes, you don't have to do, was it the paratroopers roll? Because they used to have to roll or something, didn't they? Or do something.
Oh, it depends. It depends on the mode of parachuting you're doing.
Yeah.
But most military parachuting, you still have to do the parachute roll. Oh. It doesn't. It hurts when you hit the runway and you do that.
Yeah, so I think it would. But has anyone trouble that would prevent me doing a parachute trump? And that is, I suffer from a disease. It's called cowardice, acute cowardice. That how you could jump out of a plane. My uncle used to do it. He was a paratrooper just after World War II, but that takes bottle. I admire your nerve. That takes a bloody lot of nerve. And but he said he was in the parachute.
Only do it for the money.
Well, I know that, but I mean, he reckons he was in the parachute because he didn't like flying. Isn't he too pleased to get out the plane? Seriously, he didn't like flying. He said, it's great to get out the plane. But he reckons your head was, I mean, he's dead now, but he reckoned that your head was very clear as you're coming through this, as you're coming down. I don't know whether you found that. I suppose it's spiritual.
You know what? I can exactly mirror that comment. Certainly military parachuting, you're desperate to get out of the plane because it's uncomfortable. You get battered around. It's cramped. You feel airsick, and then it's noisy, and then suddenly you jump out, and it goes blissfully quiet, and it's, you can see some scenery. Then about 20 seconds later, you're hitting the deck, breaking your pelvis or something.
I can actually feel that now. But no, the only one he didn't like jumping out of was it? I think it was a Lancaster bomber, which they converted, and this was after the war. And you had to go through a hole in the floor. He said nobody liked that. Psychologically, it's something weird. It's okay going out the side, but a hole through the floor. Ooh, no.
We used to do military in some time they used to do hot air balloon jumping, so that's a different kettle of fish
Bloody
again.
hell. I wouldn't have liked
So it is. It's all psychological, and I'll be quite honest. I think one of the scariest things for me was during parachute training, where you have to jump off a ledge, which is I'd say about 40 foot off the ground. You're obviously strapped into something. It's like I'm not sure what you call it. It's like a slow descender thing. So you jump off, and of course you don't know until you do it how this thing's going to work. But it does slow you down to a degree before you land. It's still a big jolt when you hit the deck. But that's scarier than jumping out of an aeroplane, I felt.
Really? Because I haven't got a head for heights. I really have not got a head for heights at all. I feel a bit queasy
Well,
going
you
up
come
the ladder.
down all the time. The height gets lower and lower all the time.
Yes. You're guaranteed to get to the ground, whatever happens. Do you have that bloke? Where was it? Was it John Notes? I think he went on a jet plane, jet fighter, and he said, they said, right, as you parachute and that, and the pilot, he said to the pilot, he said, what happens if we have to eject? He said, well, I don't quite know. He said, but we could discuss it on the way down.
He must have had some bottle, because I remember seeing him on what was it, what's it called, the monument in London, the Trafalgar Square.
Trafalgar Square, yeah. Oh, bloody hell, yeah.
Yeah,
with flared
up there
trousers,
cleaning it or something.
That's right, wearing flared trousers, no safety equipment.
I think his dog was there as well.
Get down, shit! Bloody hell, that is bold. But I tell you something about acupuncture. Between you and I, don't tell anybody else. Just us two. You know, there's nobody listening. Audience, please put your fingers in your ears. The first time I had acupuncture, I was apprehensive. I wouldn't say nervous, because he's a mate of mine. I thought, he's sticking these pins in. I'm not going to show myself up by going, ah! And I was sitting there, and he was talking away to me, and I was thinking, for Christ's sake, get on with it, you know. And he said, okay. He'd done it. I didn't feel a thing. Not a thing.
Yeah.
And the only slight thing I did feel is when he went into my ear, and it was like a little electric shock. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the only, and it wasn't absolutely amazing acupuncturist. Did you find that with the acupuncture? You didn't feel a bloody thing?
Yeah. I do recall the little bit where I had some damage. I felt that was almost like an electric shock there.
Yeah.
But it really did work a treat for me. The problems I had were cleared up after that.
Oh, I'm delighted to that. And I tell you something, when you look at natural medicine, you realise how successful it really is. I mean, he's cured a load of stuff. He's working on my funny finger now. Where is it? I've got a weird finger that was it trigger finger? I think it is. There it is. It's getting better. It's slightly round, and we're working on that now. And it's
is it an itchy trigger finger? I've got an itchy trigger finger.
Well, it's not really a trigger finger. It's a little finger.
Right.
It's due to Nordic heritage. So Vikings had it, and it's due because my ancestors not Vikings. So there we go. So because you had the joke about the Viking, didn't you?
You'll have to remind me.
Yes, it was a Viking that came in and said, "Okay," he said, rape all the men and kill all the women. And someone said, "Excuse me, haven't you got that the wrong way around?" He said, "You play it your way, Ducky, I'll play it mine." Sorry. All right.
Was he an RAF Viking?
Right, we've got some great people in chat, and also we're on Facebook tonight as well, and we're also on Radio Windmiller and Radio Soapbox. So there we go.
Hey.
And we got Malene Kana. I hope I pronounced that correct. Aunt Sally. Hello, Aunt Sally. Yes, Miles and I were there last Wednesday, ready to give you a good spanking for being late. So there we are. Was at his shop, by the way. And good evening, Chris and Steve. That's right. We got, what is it? Oh, I like this one. Asperger's as fudge. Hello. Sue Sparkle. Hello, Sue. Here we go.
Hello.
Chris the Gardener. Evening all in chat.
Hello.
We've got Paul. Hello, Paul. Oh, by the way,
Hello.
Paul, you were first in chat this week. So you can have a politician, the two-finger salute, and a raspberry to a politician of your choice. So there we go. Or anybody that you know of your choice. And we've got Mark Anthony. Great. Stephen
Hello.
Truthseeker. And I answer, laugh out loud. I haven't got a head for heights either. I'm total wimp. Won't even go into a multi-story car park. And I've never done, this is Christopher Garden, I've never done a parachute jump, but I have bungee jump. Bloody hell. In my misspent youth. It was a rush, but I don't think I'd do it again now.
Well, I'd sooner parachute than bungee jump. That looks quite scary to me, so well done, mate.
Yeah, you got bottle there. I think, excuse my language, I'd have to be pissed out of my mind to do that.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Only Fools and Horses script where Dell pretends that he was a paratrooper and a woman says she thought they were taller, and Rodney says he used to be 6'2", but he had a bad landing. And then we got John Buzzinglow. Hello, John. Swing landed trainer is the basic tower trainer for landing in a parachute to practice the PLF. What is a PLF?
I'm guessing that's the parachute landing. But I don't think I used a swing landed train. I don't remember doing that.
That's interesting. And also, Haji, very important. Have you got a budgie license? She looks a good-looking bird. Yes, I've got a budgie as the logo for this show. And, my God, I've forgotten to get a budgie license. Oh, what am I going to do? They're going to... Quick. They'll be... If I'm not here, I'll probably be dragged off, tomorrow. Now we got... What's this? Chris Lucas, the Protestant View Live. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
And now, John Buzzino, swing lander trainer. SWT. My fat fingers misspelt it. Well, that's interesting, John. I think you were over here in Mildenhall, were you? Or somewhere like that? You poor sod, Mildenhall, of all places. And parachute landing fall. That's it, yes. And apparently, during World War II, when the Americans had this, it's the same with the British, when there's this parachute drop, there was so much equipment coming out of the planes. They said they were trying to get it away because there's stuff flying through the air, like bags and Christ knows what, just bang, crash, wallop all around them. And they said that was more scary than the actual jump.
Well,
and there's one bloke jumped out of a Dakota and he got a direct hit by Akak. Literally seconds after he got out of it. Wow. I mean, that's something, isn't it? Anyway, on with the show tonight. What I was going to talk about is, be very careful because we're on YouTube, and I'm glad we got the Survival Von Steve on, and you're also the Minister of Fockham Defence as well, so I believe.
That's all.
That's it. Now, when you look at wars in the past, it's been very clear who the enemy is. For instance, those Jerrys, they're coming towards us. And before that, it was that lot in different uniforms are coming towards us and they'll kill us if we don't kill them first. And then they'll rape our women and children, you see, and pillage everything we got. Very, very simple, wasn't it? It was a very simple, there it is, they're the enemy, we're the good fellas, bingo, that was it. Well, it's debatable in other wars. But anyway, what they did, the government, they always looked at one thing only, kept kept it really simple for the people. They didn't say, "Oh, we're now at war with." Well, we could be at war with Germany, but then maybe Italy. Then no. It's very clear. We're at war with the Axis powers. We're at war with the French. We're at war with the. It's very simple, clear, to the point. This is where I think the truth movements are going wrong, because we should have just one point, and that is. Now I know people are going to go, "Oh, bloody hell, he's not on about that," and I hope you do that. Say that usury. We should be driving the establishment mad by going on and on and on and on about usury. Whenever there's a political discussion, excuse me, what are you going to do about usury? When are you going to ban it? When are you going to do? Because once that's solved, I mean, when you look at what we've got now, we've got the people coming over on rubber boats. We got the rape gangs going around. We got the paedophiles. We got all these things. They are very important. Don't get me wrong. But whilst we're focusing on this, we're not focusing on an objective. And this is the point I'm getting at. Yes, they are important. They've got to be solved. But the objective is, once you've solved that financial problem, you've got rid of all the psychopaths that are starting and running this stuff, because you've shall we say, we've knocked it on the head by about 80 to 90% of the problem. Then we can see to the other problems, or we can still carry on seeing the other problems. And the way I look on it is, we are in a financial jail, and the warders are the governments, and the people who pay the warders are the usury scammers. So what we've got to find is the key to open that door and escape out of that jail. And whilst we're looking at whether the earth is flat or round, or whilst we're looking at all these other different misdirections, we're not looking at that key and thinking, how can we undo that door? How we can get this freedom? Because we've been in this usury jail for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And that's our only way of survival, is to find the key to that lock. We've got brilliant brains out there. I don't know how to find the key. I don't know how to open that door. But if we all pull in and just drive the establishment bloody mad, because it's the biggest elephant in the room that everybody avoids, and you got to anybody in the street and ask them what usury is, and they haven't got a clue. Most people say it's a new washing powder. We've got, usury, oh, my granny had that, she got ointment for it, it cleared up after a week, that sort of stuff. But we've got to just focus on one thing only. How do we find that key? How do we go for it? Because what I'd like to see, and also the objective. Now, during World War II, the objective was to beat the Germans. During the French wars, the objective was to beat the French. Any other war is to beat your enemy. But we don't know who the enemy is. Well, I think I know. I think I know who the enemy is. It's the usury scammers. Once we pull a brick out of their wall, it come down like a house of cards. So what we've got to look at is, who's going to find the key? How are we going to get that key? How are we going to turn it? How are we going to open that door? And, and again, look on governments as the jailers. They're the ones with the keys. They're the ones that, and some jailers have opened the door throughout history. What is it? Lincoln, President Lincoln did. They didn't have a usury. And Lloyd George almost did in 1914. He sort of had it ajar, so he could almost get out. And then in 1960, the door was closed again. So we got to, and then I won't go into it because obviously we're on YouTube. Mr. H, he opened the door fully. Whoa, he banged it. We know what happened to him. Kennedy tried to open the door. He didn't even get it half-inch open. There we go. And look at all the other ones. Saddam Hussein. And look at the Gaddafi in Libya. Because in Libya they had a people's bank where the profits of the country went into people's pockets, not into a bunch of shadowy private figures. And that's where we want it. Because you think about it, all of us would become richer overnight if if the profits of the country went into our pocket and not some arseholes that you never see. So over to you. So how's that? So
Over
any
to
comments?
me.
So over to anybody.
Yeah.
I know that's open.
Well, should I comment on that?
Why not? That's what you're here to do, mate. So comment away.
It might not be the answer you're looking for, because
Yeah.
I have to say I disagree. If
Good.
that's all right.
Fine.
And can I tell you why?
Why?
Right.
Okay.
Usury, that's a very important issue. And I think you're very correct that if you would ask the general population what that even means, I think you'd get some weird and wonderful answers, and probably a lot of this. I've no idea. But get this one. This answer. This is what I'm going to say is probably even more complicated, because it's very, very much outside of the majority of people's understanding. So, what is the ultimate problem? I agree, usury is one such problem, probably very high up there on the list. But one of the major problems is, and again, bear me out on this, it is spiritual problems rooted in consciousness, but maintained by general ignorance. I'll say that again. It's spiritual problems rooted in consciousness and maintained by general ignorance. Now, that probably sounds a bit fluffy and woolly and nonsensical, but can I just break that down just a little bit to describe what that actually means in reality?
Yeah, certainly.
Spirituality. Remember what I mean, for the benefit of maybe viewers or listeners who are unfamiliar with my work. I talk and teach about the occult, and the occult is essentially, it's about the spiritual and mental laws of the universe. So consciousness, and also the hidden laws or values of universal laws. One such factor to bear in mind in our realm, in the real world, in the physical dimension, is the fact that we are a twofold universe. We are physical, but we are also spiritual. And again, I could go for hours explaining how we are partly a spiritual universe, but for the sake of my little point here, let me mention that spirituality is a measure of freedom. Okay, so if our collective problems are spiritual problems, so spirituality is a measure of freedom. Obviously, I don't need to ask the general audience if they feel free at this present point in time, because I'm pretty sure nobody would say that they were free. Secondly, I also said that these problems are rooted in consciousness. Again, the occult is about it's about the human psyche, let's just say. So the microcosm. Consciousness is a measure of perception. Okay, so consciousness is a measure of perception, and there's all sorts of things masking and obscuring our perception out of reality at the minute. I mean, like you say, Truth Movement in particular are going in all sorts of different directions and different dimensions as to what the problem is and where to go from there. So consciousness is a measure of perception. Thirdly, I said that these conditions are maintained by like a collective ignorance. And that's not to say that people, especially in the Truth Movement, are ignorant per se. But I have to be brutally honest, there's large quantities of ignorance with a variety of things, particularly with occult themes. And I know that because I'm an occult educator, and when I ask certain questions based on occult science, I usually get quite a lot of obscure answers and maybe a lot of hums and haws. So ignorance, anyway, don't be dismayed by that word. Ignorance is just a measure of holding insufficient knowledge. So freedom, perception, and insufficient knowledge are the three things that are leading to the current condition of our let's just say, tyrannical enslavement. But on that note, if we were to say what is the current human condition, and again, I'd welcome your point, Eric, and anybody in the viewers' comments. The current human condition, you could say simply, it's a form of covert slavery which has been introduced within a system of rapidly escalating tyranny. So, covert slavery within a system of rapidly escalating tyranny. What do you think of that so far?
I think you have actually you got the key. You may have got the key. You see, I don't think we've got to open that lock and let us out of that jail. So what you said about spirituality, I mean, wars are fought in the minds and hearts of people.
Yeah,
and they're won in the fought in the, you know, and that's one of the reasons I believe the Americans lost the Vietnam War, because they was fighting a war that was not on their land, miles away, and the GIs who were conscripts weren't interested. They didn't want to go there. Nothing to do with them.
Yeah. If I was to say, I mean, obviously, I was a soldier. I was a soldier for a lot of years, and this isn't probably the answers or the points that people would be expecting from me. But we are not facing a physical war. We are in World War III. We started. I mean, I know you've said it before. We started World War III in 1947, and I must admit, I think you're exactly right. This is how covert slavery works. You don't know you're in it. And you don't know the escalation of tyranny. You could say, I'd imagine you're a few years older than me, Eric, and certainly within my lifetime, the amounts of freedom I had when I was a child growing up in the early 70s is far different to a child of today growing up in the far different. So tyranny and freedom has escalated without a doubt. History has showed us that these two conditions, given scope for it, will just escalate and escalate until something breaks. And I mean, even if you look on a historical timeline, something like every 250 years, there is a major sort of revolution or some sort of break from the oppression of tyranny. And I think we are in the we are in the frame for that transition to take place. So when I say spiritual problems, again, spirituality refers to freedom. We are not free, so therefore we've got a spiritual problem. Not only that, I mentioned perception as well, perception linked to consciousness. We are also facing a different type of warfare. There's lots of names you could use for this: psychological warfare, information warfare, hybrid warfare, fifth generation warfare, asymmetric warfare. It's a complete amalgamation of all these factors, largely psychological. So many of the things we are facing are psychological. Psychological warfare requires an understanding or perception of the weapons that are being deployed to basically subjugate that group of people. Many of these things have been exposed. Many of these things, certainly truth movements are aware of. General public are perhaps still in ignorance to a lot of these things. So I mentioned as well the word ignorance, and ignorance is lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge can be easily remedied with improving upon knowledge. Obviously, because we're in a psychological war, many people who are still in fear and all the other psychological factors won't take on board these points. Their brain is not in a position to accept this understanding. However, the people who have got their head around it, truth movement people, we are the I'm not saying forget about the general public, but we can't have the general public shaping our future when their head is not in the right battle space. So they're not even on the battlefield, never mind in the right space. So it's we the people like the Truth Movement, etc., who understand certainly some of the techniques that are going on to enslave us. It is we who need to do something about that. And I mean, by all means, wake up people and share information, spread information, but that's not necessarily going to work. We need to be unified. As I say, as you correctly said, this is one of the most important things we need to do. We need to be unified with a common purpose, simply because if we're not, we will get brutalized and we will be what you could class as combat ineffective. This is the very thing that the powers that be understand, that if we can be driven apart with a variety of what's known as polarizing dialectics, i.e. differences of opinion, differences of understanding, then we are like fish in a barrel to the powers that be. So I agree entirely, Eric, with your point. We've got to unify on that.
That has put over perfectly, Steve. That really is.
Thank you.
That is brilliant, because I've come from a civilian sort of viewpoint. You come from a military viewpoint, which I totally respect, which is far greater than I could have, because I've not been in the military. And I think, summing it up, what you're basically, you've explained perfectly, and I can't improve upon that. You know, that is perfectly explained. Is that hearts and minds of people have got to be changed before any other change, like usury or anything like that. We've got to change the to a spiritual type of view of things, because these cretins or parasites that are pulling us down, our enemy, are using weapons, psychological weapons, that are just dividing us and just creating mayhem and that type of thing. So in a way, you have found part of the key there, I think.
Well, can I elaborate a little bit further on that? Because one thing I don't want to get your viewers confused with is, when I say spiritual problems, what I'm not trying to say is we need to start being like the Love and Light Brigade, New Age hippies. We're meditating. I'm not talking about any of this whatsoever. In fact, far from it. I mean, I would encourage. Again, I'm not trying to plug a book here, but I would encourage the book Fake Awake, Nathan Lucius and yourself. Yeah, this one. Yeah, it's an excellent book. There's some, some of the things some of the factors that we need to know are in this book. And what I will draw reference to is occult understanding. So when I say spiritual problems are largely understood, and can be understood in far greater detail using the science of occultism. Like I said, occultism is about the spiritual and mental laws of nature. And again, some people might think, well, this guy's talking out of his backside. What are the spiritual laws of nature? What are the mental laws of nature? As I've said, consciousness is about perception. And if we can't get perception right because our head's not in the right space, then we are combat ineffective. Again, I can't use your show here as a platform to express that fully, which is why we need to do a lot of. Oh well, fair enough. Well,
we're here to see. I've learned more from people that I disagree with than the people I do.
Fair enough.
Because I don't disagree with you. I agree with you.
All right.
I think we're trying to reach a solution, but we're coming from different angles. But we both want a solution to this problem. And this is what we've got to look at, is all the solutions. Look at generals. When they look at the solution, they'll have different, and they'll look and they'll say, we'll choose that one. This is what I think they do. They must do. This is what we do in the design world. You know, you put all the solutions down, what you think are the solutions, and you pick the best one that you think. Sometimes you make the right decision, sometimes you make the wrong decision. It's just, that's it, you know.
Do you know what then? Let me mention three things, and these are three Sorry, I missed that bit, but can I mention 3 things as a takeaway? And if people are able to do, I don't know, maybe do a, yeah, brilliant. Occultism simply means hidden. It's hidden knowledge, and it's usually based on ancient philosophy, ancient wisdom, ancient spiritual science. This is nothing new. I'm not giving you anything new here. This is always has been, always will be. And what I'm speaking, what I'm going to say next is nothing new at all. This is ancient. I'm going to mention 3 things, and again, I would like to think some of the viewers would look these things up so they can understand a bit more depth. First off is natural law. Second, objective morality. And the third thing to mention is something called the trivium. The trivium is basically the principle used, and again, this is massively ancient knowledge. All the ancient philosophers use this. The trivium is basically the pathway that leads towards truth. So if you want to find out what the truth is, you have to follow a process called the trivium. You can follow other methods, but those methods do not work fully like the trivium does. And it's obviously by the word, it suggests there's 3 roads that leads to the truth. Why don't I mention a little bit about that in a little bit more depth, so we can understand it. That it's basically a tool used from the liberal arts. It's a classical method of learning used to validate new knowledge, and you could say is the pathway towards truth discovery. So in other words, it's a means to gain better understanding of ourselves and the world. Okay, so if we don't understand enough about what's causing problems in the world, then we need to do something about it. Again, it's a very complex situation what we're finding ourselves in. This current level of World War III has got a lot of different angles and a different host of complications that go with it. I'm going to tell you this. In fact, what I'll do, Eric, if you don't mind, the 3 roads that lead to truth discovery are in its classical setting known as grammar, logic, and rhetoric. But that's a little bit wishy-washy. Let me give you a more up-to-date or modern version, which is knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So knowledge leads to understanding, and an understanding leads to. We don't know what to do with it. And likewise, we can't generate wisdom until we've built up knowledge and understanding. And again, it probably sounds a little bit complicated, and especially for anybody who's new to this or has never heard it before. But I would strongly recommend having a look at this, because again, cutting a very long story short, the whole of reality is generated from the process of the trivium. Okay? But again, rather than see your viewers, jump overboard because of, this sounds crazy to them, let me mention a couple of other things. We mentioned natural law, and we mentioned objective morality. So, all right. If I was to say that the baseline level of consciousness on the planet, you could say, is quite low. Okay, because the reason I'm saying that is because there's an awful lot of people in the general public who haven't got a Scoobies, they haven't got a clue what's going on in the world. There's also another very, very important point here. And again, if people disagree, by all means, tell me your thoughts. But you could say that the current level of morality in the world is low. Okay, and it's probably been purposefully designed to be low. Some of the things that are being implemented by the powers that be have been purposefully to to generate a low threshold of morality. And this is an important factor, even though it sounds crazy. This is an important factor because under occult science, when morality declines, our level of freedom also declines. So morality and freedom are directly correlated. This is, you've heard of the process of order out of chaos?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd imagine most people in the truth movement have heard this. There's another factor, it's called solvet coagula. I don't know if you've heard that one.
No, I've heard that.
I'd imagine some of your viewers have. Solvet coagula is, again, it's similar to order out of chaos. It simply means break down and reform, or break down and coagulate. These are purposely driven by social engineers to break down the threshold of morality within human society, because that gives them scope to generate their order from the chaos that we are then embroiled with. So when we are in a state of chaos, the powers, the ruling elites, can generate order to enforce upon us, giving them the upper hand. So when we are broken down into low morality, our freedom then also is directly proportional to that value, i.e. when morality declines, freedom declines.
Yes.
So this is why we are facing now an increase in enslavement and an increase in tyranny. It's for that very purpose alone. So if I can mention what the third point is, that you could say this falls under what's known as objective morality, i.e. Morality in society is essentially, it's understanding the difference between right and wrong in its simplest form. But again, we as a collective civilization don't fully understand that very simple principle, simply because if I was to say a right, it is our right as a human being to do anything as long as it causes no harm to another living being. Okay, this is a God-given right. We can do anything as long as it creates no harm to any living being. So that means if I want to smoke weed, I can smoke weed, and then there should be no laws and no third-party interference for me to engage upon a God-given right. However, we fall at the moment under civilization, certainly in Western countries, they fall under the principles of man's law, artificial laws, which some people try to profit from obscuring those rights. So pretty much everything in man's law, everything in corporate law, everything, even elements of common law, will infringe upon our God-given rights. So if we are not living in morality because we can't face up to the rights that we were given by creation itself, then there's going to be a knock-on effect to that. So this brings in the third part, which is something called natural law. Natural law is known by other names, such as the laws of God, the law of cause and effect, or consequentialism. And this is, again, if you've never heard it before, probably wishy-washy. But natural law, if again, I would recommend viewers to have a look at what this means in more detail, because this is basically this is the key to our freedom. This is the key to human freedom. If I was to say natural law is a set of manufacturer's instructions written into nature that we can discover through reason how we ought to act, that's kind of a summary of what natural law is. And this is, again, this is ancient knowledge. Many philosophers have wrote about this. and these are inherent into nature itself. So what we are doing in our current civilization is we are opposing the laws of creation by putting ourselves above the laws of creation, and as a result there's a knock-on effect to that, where we are facing the problems that we have generated through falling foul of these natural laws. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. What do you think?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That is, you've educated a lot of us. I'm going to have to look at this. I know it sounds a bit weird over, because as you were talking, I feel very rude, but I've got to look through the chat, and so please don't take offence. You know, so
no.
But what I've heard is absolutely fantastic, and people have made some fantastic comments in chat, and I've been highlighting them.
Oh, really?
And this is really interesting, because you should know, because you've been at the sharp end of things. You should know, because as I said before, you know, I'm a civilian. I've never been in the sharp end of things. You know, apart from getting a punch in the nose when I was at school, it's about the sharpest pen. That's about the sharp end I've been in. You know, that's it. But so you're okay? Should we go into chat, or would you like to continue?
Yeah, go to chat, because I know I've been chatting an awful lot
there. Now, Nathan, who's this geezer? Do you know who he is? Yes, he's the author of the book, actually. Yes, right. By the way, he's the author of this, another plug. Nathan, 10...
Oh, that's a good book.
Good book, yes. 10 FOC bobs for promoting your book, okay? Brown envelope. No questions asked. Now, usury is a symptom, not a cause. Sorry, mate, that needs to be addressed. Hope all are well. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with them there. And again, sorry. Usury to me is still just a symptom, and I mean, it would take a fair bit of discussion to tell you why my thoughts are on that. But I hope that's okay.
That's no. This is what the show's about. You see, the thing is that you get so many things on YouTube. People going, I'm not doing it, you bastard, and all this. No, that doesn't get anywhere. I really enjoy when people disagree, but politely. And I think that's the best way of doing it, because I've learned a heck of a lot from you. So, and we learn from each other, because we're all looking at this. We're all on this earth, and we're looking at a sense of reality from different angles. What we think is, and from our backgrounds, because we've all got different backgrounds, we're all very different. That's the thing. Now, the other one is John Basingloan. John, I think you're in America, aren't you? I think you are. Usury and the central banks, the Federal Reserve, and their cousin, the Bank of England. They rob our wealth by inflating the money supply, yes. The central banks of England and the US are Rothschild's control. And if you look up Eustace Mullins, he said that America never got its independence. It's still run by the City of London. And of course, the City of London is a separate country. It's not part of Britain or the United or UK. It's a separate country. Now, there is no law to pay tax. It is voluntary. Correct. That's why very rich people pay very expensive accountants to tell the tax accountants what they already know.
Yeah, I agree. I don't pay any tax. Stuff the system.
Well, I'll try not to. Kennedy. Now this is Ashmosei. No, I can't pronounce the name. Brohamaloron. Kennedy was the greenback dollar. I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you there. If you look it up, Lincoln was the greenback dollar. I know that for a fact. 1860 something. I think it's 1860. It wasn't. Kennedy didn't do the greenback dollar. No. So please look at but I politely, respectfully disagree there. But it was Kennedy. Sorry, it was Lincoln. What I'm talking about. Now, Then we got here, like the Bradbury pound, interest free. That's correct. It was Lloyd George that introduced the Bradbury pound in 1914, and then slowly got rid of it after he became Prime Minister. In 1916, and the last one was printed in 1927, I believe. There we go. Good evening, all. Yes, evening,
Hello.
Louise. Greetings. I'm sorry, I have to sort of jump a lot of. Please don't take it personal, but I'll be here all night reading these out. We got a lot in chat, so I've had to just sort of highlight the ones that I'm terribly sorry. But if there's anything you really want me to come over to Steve, put it in block capitals. Okay, I'll read the block capital ones out. As long as they're not rude to me or Steve, they're okay. Now. The usury of the HMRC is sky high. That's HMRC for those of you that are overseas is the tax. So the usury of the tax people, HMRC, is sky high for late payment. Spot on. Yes. Hachi said, I think a major breakdown is on the way, and the AA man won't be able to fix it at the roadside. This is what they're saying. I don't know. Now, This is another one from HMRC. Unam Sanctium 1302 made every living thing temporal, physical, and spiritual subservient to the papacy.
So that's kind of you could say that's kind of a conscience and spiritual thing that's been brutalized in the physical realm. That's how it's done.
Yes. Now we got here Sister Quavy, if I pronounce that correctly. That's in 1666, I believe. Sealed the dead sheep ordeal. That's right. Yeah. Yes, and because what was it? Oliver Cromwell, he reintroduced usury 300 years after Edward the First, I think it is, abolished it. But now. Yes, Steve, this is Louise Wilcock. We are all chained by our indoctrination once people rise off their knees, stop voting and wake up to the fact 99% can override the 1% that mankind begins to steer along the correct path. Now, it's interesting what you said, Steve, about morality, because there was an interesting book. I made a note here. Savage People, I think it was called, by an anthropologist whose name escapes me. And he spent a long time, he learned to speak their language with a tribe in the farmost jungles of Amazon, very, very deep in the Amazon. And they hadn't had much contact with outside world. But they were absolutely bloody savage. They really were, this lot. Yanomamo, or whatever you want to call them, tribe. They're very nice people now, in case I get one coming over on a boat and living next door to me. So very nice, but no, only joking, they won't do. But what I was going to say is that the Yanomamo tribe, he said, even though they were very savage, and a lot of the men were killed before the age of 30. They're absolute, not any longer. I mean, they're very civilized now, very polite. They're very genteel. They drink tea with the lady's little finger and things like that. But and he said they didn't wear a stitch of clothing, but their morality was high. He never once saw them going to the lavatory, never once saw them having sex, and with their children, they're brought up very strictly.
Yeah,
morals. Even though they had nothing, and he said that's quite amazing. That is quite something.
Yeah, I'm going to guess. I know you've mentioned that before, and I'm going to guess that they grasp the concept of what's known as objective morality, and also abided by the laws of nature, the laws of creation under natural law. Because can I quote a philosopher here?
Certainly.
Because, like I said, none of this is, I haven't made this up. This is ancient knowledge. This is ancient, hidden, secret knowledge, occult knowledge. The natural liberty of man is to be free from any superior power on earth and not to be under the will or the legislative power of the authority of man, but to abide by the laws of nature for his rule. And that was that was an expression or a phrase used by a philosopher known as John Locke, who some people may have heard of. I mean, that was, I'm going to guess that was from the 17th century, that particular phrase.
That's brilliant.
Essentially,
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, was he not something to do with the Founding Fathers as well? I mean, I forget entirely, but he got it bang on. We do man's law, a government, essentially. Remember, the word government means mind control. So break down that word, gubernare mentis in Latin means mind control. The mind controllers actually go to work in a building called Parliament. And if anyone speaks French, and I'm not saying I do, but parla means to speak, and mentir or ment is lies. So parla meant to speak lies. Mind controllers who speak lies make up rules to subjugate the citizens with by mind control. And bearing in mind, ancient philosophers have said since the dawn of man that we need to follow the principles of objective morality to understand the fundamental difference between right and wrong. And again, it sounds simple, and it is, because it's written in our hearts and it's written in our brains, but that has to be mind controlled out of us, so we follow the will of a superior power. Again, this is rooted in consciousness. So consciousness is about perception. If we are being mind controlled on a daily basis by people who speak lies, then our perception is going to be in ruins. So therefore, what we need to do is re-establish our thinking caps, get our thinking caps on so we can understand the fundamental differences of morality and establish a means of living under natural law. After that, usury will not happen, war will never happen, and tyranny and enslavement will diminish. It will not exist. It only exists under the inauthentic authority of man, who makes laws up to establish power and wealth and control for a ruling class. That's it. You want an end to war? Don't have a government.
Oh, I agree with you there, 100%. Because the greatest discipline is self-discipline.
Yeah,
that's it. And first thing that happens when you go to school is sit down, sit up straight, listen to what you hear, and they teach you basically to look for a leader.
Yeah,
you've got to look for a leader. And I actually found this in the truth groups. They're all looking for a leader. Oh, did you hear such and such a politician say? Oh, he's saying. Oh, yes. Well, politicians are trained, or it comes natural to them, to use bullshit to tell people what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And then, I was a guest on the Paul English show. He goes out every Thursday, plug on Rumble, and we was talking about Trump. I believe Trump is another Tony Blair, because when Tony Blair came to power, everybody's going, "Oh, he's fantastic!" Oh, and things did start to change, and then after a short period of time, and that's what's going to happen with Trump, I think. After a very short period of time.
With this, for me, this will happen with every single prime minister, president, or established leader of government. All governments, the word government will never change. It'll always mean mind control. All governments lie completely in order to establish their aims at the bequest of their citizens that they use and abuse in order to establish those aims. I'm gonna show you a mind control device. I was a soldier and I wore a mind control device. All right. As you can see, I've butchered mine slightly because I'm now a soldier against. Am I allowed to say the other word? The old
yes, that's right. So because we're on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So I used to wear a mind control device, and I used to follow the principles of leadership. So we were given, let's say, with leaders, we would do as we were told, or what we were told to do by leaders. What that is a complete violation of the understanding and principle of objective morality. Because morality, it doesn't matter what is right, it only matters what you are told to do for your job. And this is one of the biggest problems in the human race. They follow what they're told to do by somebody who could be the boss or their government or the police, for example. They will follow, no matter what's right and what's wrong, they will follow the directions of others. That's a complete violation of objective morality. Objective morality is based in conscience. Again, spiritual problems rooted in conscience. Conscience is about perception. Our perception of right and wrong, the fundamental difference between right and wrong, has been subjugated entirely because we follow the direction of others. And remember, John Locke, he said the natural principle for man is to be free from legislative powers. That means we need to follow what's written in there, the 2 tablets inscribed with, let's say, the laws of God. So speaking of the human mind, just to put it into a fairly brief overview, we've got 2 brain hemispheres, a left and a right. And we can have, if we are misdirected through the principles of falling outside of objective morality, because we follow the governance, the mind control of others, we can develop what's known as brain dominance. So, for example, I used to be a soldier. Soldiers and police, this is very typical of soldiers and police. Soldiers and police fall into something called master think, or abuser consciousness. It depends which definition you prefer. Essentially, it means dominance, and it's usually a masculine dominance. That dominance is a result of suppressed emotions, and it's rooted within what's known as the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain is we've got 3 aspects of our mind: the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, and the human brain. Police and soldiers the world over, when they go through basic training and the various aspects of how military authority works, we develop our conscious behaviors and thoughts within the reptilian side of our brain. That's the lowest part of the brain function. That's why police and soldiers the world over, bear in mind I was a soldier, are dim-witted imbeciles who just do anything they're told, kill on demand, or beat grannies up with truncheons because they're dumb. They're in the reptile brain. The other side of that brain dominance is something called slave think. And again, this is kind of something that's been generated into large swathes of society through. I'm just going to come to two things that have achieved this sort of brain or mental schism of slave think. New age notions and religion has been quite responsible. The 2 biggest bodies responsible for this submissive brain schism, this mental schism. It is essentially suppression of the survival instinct. So that's why if we, and again, I'm not trying to criticize any particular group of people here, but let's just say new age, the new age notion is one of love and light. I mean, in itself, that's not a bad principle to have, but when we're getting brutalized by people who couldn't give a crap about love and light, the tactics, the survival instinct of love and light is just going to get you trodden on. Okay, this is important to know for those with that understanding. We'll get trodden on if we think that love and light is going to be our strategy to escape tyranny. We'll just be tyrannized even more. What that does is it generates our thoughts, our consciousness within the mammalian brain, the limbic system. If you want to put a functionality upon it, it's the limbic system, and that's responsible for human emotion. So if we're engaged in human emotion, we don't take the necessary masculine actions in order to deal with that complication. So again, when I'm saying we've got problems rooted in consciousness, this is where we need to understand how the trivium process works, so we can put meat on the bones of our understanding of what's really going on in the world. So if we can engage this to its fullest capacity, because we're not just in the reptile brain and we're not just in the mammalian brain, but we're also in the human brain. Again, this is a little bit of psychology involved in this, but if we can generate our understanding within the human brain, the higher mind, then all of these problems become less so, because we can deal with them. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense.
That does make a lot of sense. What you actually, I think you've got the keys there. Now, how are we going to get those keys I mean, we're telling people, and I do think people are waking up very slowly, very, very slowly. But the problem that we've got the tell-lie vision, which is, and also what you were saying about the mammalian brain. Before we came on air, we was talking about the last time Britain went to war with France. And I was saying that there's a chap on YouTube, Lindy Page, who said it was in 1940 because there was a French submarine and battleship, and there's a bit of a battle because the Vichy France told them to scuttle the ships, and the British didn't want them to. Now you think those chaps died a terrible death. A couple of them survived for 2 days before they died. What did they die for? What exactly did they die for?
Yeah.
What they went through. I mean, if they met each other, those French and the English, in a cafe, they probably got on really well.
Yeah, I can guarantee they would.
What are they? Isn't that a waste of life?
Yeah.
Total waste of life.
This is... I mean, I was a soldier, and I'll be quite honest, I was a soldier for a long time before I kind of understood the bigger picture. And I'll be quite honest, I was probably the most brainwashed individual in Britain. I was brainwashed enough that essentially my role in the army was to close with and kill the enemy. I was a murderer. That was my job description, a murderer, an assassin for the government. You don't get any lower than that as in terms of a job description. You've got to be a complete brainwashed, a complete imbecile, brainwashed, mind-controlled victim of MK Ultra programming to be that dumb, which I was. I had to do an awful lot of reading up, understanding, and basically a lot of homework to realize that this is fundamentally wrong in all levels. I was proud to be a soldier, and I enjoyed my job, and I worked with some brilliant blokes and I had some brilliant opportunities. But I'll tell every single person who's a member of the army now, and this is coming from me as a former soldier for a long time, that you need to leave your job and you need to count yourself lucky you've come to a conclusion in your life that what you're doing is fundamentally wrong on all accounts. It breaks all the principles of objective morality and breaks all the principles of natural law. Now, there's consequences to every action that every individual takes, period, the end. It will always be, and it is now, and it will always be in the future. There's consequences to behavior, and it's called natural law. Now, these laws can be broken, but there's always going to be consequences to that. And again, this is a science. It's called natural law. The complications or the effects of breaching the principles of natural law through immorality leads to tyranny. It leads to lack of freedom. It leads to tyranny. Wars are always generated by governments, period, the end. If you want an end to war, there needs to be an end to government.
I 100% agree with you. I've got no time for government. And one thing that a politician did say, well, he wasn't really a politician, he was an actor, was Ronald Reagan. He said the most terrifying sentence in the English language is, "Hello, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you." It's a terrifying sentence. And when you look, governments have killed more of their own people than all the wars put together.
Yeah.
Just think about it. But going back in, you okay for? Should we go back into
Yeah.
chat? Because
do it.
do you know something? This is the fastest hour and 3/4
Wow.
they've ever been. It feels like half an hour. It's just flying past. It's absolutely fascinating, and you come over very, very well. And
Thank you.
I can actually see in your eyes. You can always tell people you've been through a process of waking up. I mean, for example, not in the same sense, but I mean, I was freelancing architecture for many years and worked on some of the most crappiest buildings you could ever wish to think of. But I got the money for it. And, it's totally different. But, I did, as I say, and it was, you do become mercenary, not in the sense of killing, but mercenary in the sense of chasing Daddy Dollar. And you do get like that, I think.
Yeah, the whole world's like that, in fairness.
Yeah.
Well, the majority of the world's like that. And you don't just have to be a soldier or policeman to be immoral.
Yeah.
There's loads of jobs out there where we're just chasing the money and forgetting about what the consequences of our immorality.
I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but Steve, I don't think you will. But I think the greatest recruiter for the army is high unemployment and poverty. That is a great recruitment drive. Yeah. Because I know that I was talking to an Indian chap who said that India's never had to have conscription because they've always had enough manpower. But when they wanted more men, they'd go to a certain area and they would stop the food supply. And sure enough, the recruiting offices would be queues outside because people are starving.
Here, well, get this for irony. I used to actually recruit and train recruits in the army. Mm-hmm. How ironic. Now I'll tell everybody who's thinking of joining to get a proper job, you dummies.
I should think you're a pretty good teacher. I think you're pretty good. You're very good. You've explained everything thoroughly tonight. And, now we got here, it's noticeable in the Truther movement that even now they are not unified. That's correct. They're not unified. Well, I actually call them the happy clappy manic depressives because they are happy clappy manic depressives.
I like that.
Yeah. Now, I don't quite understand this one. Chris Lucas, if you think about Luigi Mangione.
Luigi Mangione.
Mangione. That sounds a bit Italian to me. He is a decent-looking young guy wearing a green hoodie like Robin Hood, made out to be likeable. Really seems like a psyop, over-the-top perp walk. Don't know. I've never heard of him. So
no, I can't. I'm not sure. I'll check him up on Google. But if it's on the TV, it's likely to be a psyop.
Common Purpose runs every council in the country. Yes. Check Brian Garish out. Yes. Yeah,
because he's got a website
on it. Yeah. Mylene says we need unity. I agree with you. We got to. And we got Ashmonse says, I can't pronounce the word, sorry. Sorry if you're taking offence. Take a gate instead of offence. Yes, Common Purpose, devious catchphrase.
Yeah, it's kind of a communist type of phrase, isn't it? So, yeah.
Now, and we got here, JFC 007 says, knowledge, understanding, wisdom.
Yeah, brilliant. That's what the Trivium is. And again, lots of people in the truth movement have got knowledge. Lots of people have got understanding. But what we do need to do is get the wisdom. And that's the bit, that's the key. Once we've got wisdom, we can then generate actions which take positive direction and purposeful intent into reality. That's how reality is formulated.
Oh, yeah. But really, Steve, what you went through in the army, what you enjoyed in that, has given you wisdom. And I'd like to believe, it's for others to think, that what I experienced in architecture and that may have given me wisdom. I don't know. It's for others to judge. I don't know. But it all gives us, it's all character building, very much character building. And but mind you, that is what the army does do. It does build character, I think.
Yeah.
The Rise, Ajamonse says, again, I pronounced your first name wrong, so I'm terribly sorry. The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire is a handbook. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Marlene says, to lower our vibration and stop us from reaching high levels of consciousness. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, when your vibration, to put a bit of meat on the bones of that, when your vibrations are low, when you're living in fear, you're in either victim consciousness or abuser consciousness. And we've seen that was classic mental schisms, modalities of thought that were prevalent during the COVID, if I'm allowed to say that word.
Yeah, you're right there. We're just... this is what I like about Rumble. You say what you bleeding like and get away with it. But on YouTube, you've got to watch T's and Q's. It's not me that's doing it. I'm sorry, mate. I feel really bad about it because I sometimes drop a clanger, but hopefully I'll get past the censors. Now, it says here, Mayor Rothschild, this is true, yes. This is Phil Harrod says, Mayor Rothschild, give me the control of a country's finances and I care not who makes its laws. Yes. And we got here, absolutely true. Moral is so low. Morale, I think morale as well. This is moral, but morale.
Yeah, probably both.
Because that's in a war. What you got to do, you've got to destroy the enemy's morale.
Yeah, it's the second principle of war is the maintenance of morale.
No.
So if your morale is down, your fighting forces junk.
Well, when you look when you look at people walking around, I'll give an example. I often go and see Miles in his shop. That's generally Wednesdays. And Waltham Abbey, where he is, was quite an upmarket place. If you see it on Google, it looks a little bit like the Shambles in York. It's quite, oldie-worldy around there. Now, most of the shops are boarded up. You've got people, alcoholics walking around, something you would have never dreamt of seeing 20-odd plus years ago. A sad place, and you've got people miserable. Buskers.
Yeah.
It's awful. It really is. And it was a really nice place. I mean, and it still is. Parts of it are very nice. I sometimes feel, this is Sue Sparkle, I am crawling about amongst aliens. Most around me are happy to go along with anything for an easy life. Yes.
Yeah.
As long as I got their colour telly, that's all that matters. Big telly, What leads us leads with falsification. Correct? That's Hachi. And Oman Shay says the 7 Hermetic principles are the best key. Yes.
Yeah, that's part of natural law. So again, these are things that are omitted from the general understanding.
Now, Frankfurt School luminaries state that must first create chaos to reshape the culture to align with their objective, much like programs emanating from the school engineering factory, Tavistock. Spot on.
Yeah,
was it Sololinsky?
Exactly.
Sololinsky wrote a book. He was a Marxist who, in the
Rules
60s in America, that's right, Rules for Radicals.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, there's another guy, Gramsci, Antony Gramsci, I think. Sololinsky. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, if nobody's familiar with him, check his stuff out. Gramsci was another one. I think he was an Italian bloke. Check his stuff out. Also, Yuri Bezmenov, and I know you've mentioned him on your show before. These guys have pretty much nailed what's going on in. I mean, again, Edward Bernays as well.
Edward Bernays, yes.
If you understand there, just have a quick internet search of those, the leading points, and you'll understand what's going on in the world today.
Well, Yuri Bezmenov is my hero because, they say he died in, I think, 1990.
Right.
I hope he didn't. I hope he's still alive. He'd been in his 80s, but I hope he went to India and he's had a good life. In a sense,
society's being subconsciously programmed towards a culture of violence and fear through the various tactics that they talk about. So we're being subconsciously programmed in order to be broken down, in order to establish order out of chaos.
But by the way, did I just get muddled up with Saul Alinsky? And I've just wondered. No, it's not Saul Alinsky I'm proud of. It's he was an arsehole, he was, Saul Alinsky. No, it was Yuri Bezmenov as my hero.
Yeah.
So I hope I didn't say you're Saul Alinsky by
No, I
mistake.
think that's what you said.
Yeah,
No,
I hope
that's what you
so,
said.
because people think Saul Alinsky's a bastard. He was a Marxist. People go, I'm switching off.
yeah.
I'm not there. Yeah, but no, not a nice person. And what was it? A lot of the American presidents, Obama was very much liked Saul Alinsky, and had a lot of training from,
Yeah, that's right.
Now, 40 years ago, I almost joined the army, completed basic training, but didn't join because I knew I wouldn't be able to blindly follow orders.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, well done for not. It takes. It's hard as a young man, when you're egotistical as a young man and young and daft. It looks better than what it is.
Now it says here, Alain says, my grandfather was in France when they fired the first shots of World War II. He was in Glasgow when they fired the second. Well, there's an old saying, isn't it? I'd rather be a live coward than a dead hero. And the one I like is wars are fought by forgotten heroes for lost causes. It's like what I was saying about that, what happened on those French ships. Who knows and who cares now? Those poor souls lost their lives for what? Yeah. Now it says here, Sean Hamer says, direct experience of life without the influence of abstraction. Now that's interesting. That's very interesting. And we got what was it? Always loads here. I haven't gone through this. What's this? Made as a child in a ward to swear subservience to
the overlord.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
yes,
indoctrination
right.
from young.
That's right. And Aunt Sally, hang on, we got Mylene first. My grandfather was a conscientious objector and was in prison for a while. Very brave man.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that's something we've got to come to terms with. By standing in honour of morality might come with penalties. So, until the world rectifies this.
You went against the crowd, Steve, and you're very brave for going against the crowd. Seriously, that is bravery. That is
thanks, man.
Because, but in the First World War, they were treated very, very badly, and even in the Second World War, conscientious objectors were. But I think that John Hamer has got a very interesting story about what happened to his uncle, because his uncle deserted and lived in France off the beaten track with some American deserters. And I think similar happened in Italy, where some English deserters met some German deserters. So I lived in backwoods for a long time. I'm trying to find out more about it. I don't know much about that. I don't know whether it's a myth or not. But if anybody knows anything about it, please tell me, because that's all I know about it. It might be total bullshit. I don't know. But what happened with John Hamer's uncle is 100% true. His uncle did desert.
Yeah.
And
do you know what? It takes more moral courage to do that than to stay and follow ungodly orders.
Yeah.
So, congratulations to him for doing the right thing.
Oh, yes. I mean, my dad was a conscript during the war, but a very reluctant conscript, because he knew roughly what it was about, and he knew he was being told a pack of lies. He was absolutely, he knew that. Very wide awake man he was. Aunt Sally, I'm listening to this from the warmest place in my house. What, the toilet? My toilet's very warm. Oh, sorry, the bath. Sorry, I'm terribly sorry, Aunt Sally. So can't run the risk of taking my phone swimming and chat. This is a fascinating stream. So you're not in the car, so you're in the bath. All right. A bit like you're not in the shower because it was shh, you know. Now, divide and conquer is the Maxim 77 Brigade used to this day. So I actually...
It's the oldest trick in the book.
Yes. And, by the way, I didn't mention what's underneath your title here. It's SAS, and it's, I can't really... Soldiers Against... What's trying to say? Williams Toxic Arm Brew. I think what we call it. Sure.
Well,
yes.
Can I quickly say, anybody in said SAS or any other special forces unit in the world, or anyone in the forces in any military in the world, needs to seriously take on board the things I've mentioned tonight. Go and do some real intense study on this and see how it fits in with a higher mind piece, because this is what a lot of people in the forces need to do. They need to develop the higher mind. They're capable of it. Some brilliant people in the forces. I work with some excellent, really outstanding people, and I wouldn't want to see them fail because they weren't able to develop their human mind.
I'll tell you something though, Steve. In a conventional war, because I actually question whether nuclear bombs actually exist. Because I think on the law of averages, so I would have pressed the button by now. So I question that. I think it's all fear tactics. But in a battlefield against the Russian army, I think I put my money on the Russian army. I don't think our side would stand much with the woke brigade. I mean, have you seen those adverts for? I don't know whether it's propaganda or not. You know, great big Dutch Russians. You know, they're throwing sort of great big logs at each other.
Yeah.
And then it goes to America. That's right, yes. And they're talking about transgender, you know, while, you know, that's some high-rank officer who's a bloke who's dressed as a woman, didn't they? And all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
there's loads of that now, yeah.
But is it a new tactic where the enemy kill themselves laughing? You know,
we're not enemies in space, by the way. You know, the Russians and America, they're all high-fiving each other up on the space ships.
Well, I don't think they've ever gone past the Van Allen belt, personally. Because do you see that when there was on the that's what they call it, a big thing, space station?
ISIS. That's right. The International Space Station, ISS. Well, that's what that is.
See the women, they've actually blackened their hair, because if I've seen women on the Vomit Comet, you know, when they go down on a jet and their hair's going like this, but then when they're on the space station, it's sort of stuck rigidly like this. It's a bit like you know, the beehive hairstyle of the 60s. Yeah. And did you see that when something fell off the shelf? Gravity suddenly kicked in.
Great,
doing this and suddenly
class. Hey, well done, NASA. The best one ever.
Oh, it's better than Thunderbirds, isn't it? The acting was a bit wooden in Thunderbirds, but you know, with the old NASA, you know, what's it? It's the National Association of Space Actors, isn't it?
That's the one.
Natural ways, John Hamer says, develop naturally from experience. Individual and shared systems of conceptual law must be imposed, and so should always be rejected. I 100% agree.
And you know what? On that, because that's basically artificial and it's got to be imposed. All laws, and this is a fact, even if it's not, you know, mass physical violence to impose those laws, a measure of force has to be implemented in order to implement these laws. Therefore, any measure of force is a measure of harm, and any measure of harm violates natural law and violates objective morality. So there's no legitimate form of artificial laws ever. So anyone supporting government is by principal acting immorally and acting in violation of natural law, which is why the world's in a crap heap at the minute, because everybody's doing this.
I don't believe, you see, you have exams and things like that. They've got to test you on that day, and you've got to be, I mean, if, like myself, you had hay fever, I don't get hay fever anymore. I used to get it really bad. It's cured now, hopefully. I might get a bit of a sniffy nose some spring, but I used to have it really bad. But I don't believe in even having a driving license or tests or anything like that.
Yeah.
My feeling is the old way of doing things, like, for example, the Victorians, if you wanted to be an engineer, you go through like different stages of training. And if you were crap, you won't become an engineer. It's as simple as that. You'd be found out pretty soon, pretty quick. But you go through like an apprenticeship where, and really, with driving, I think they should teach it in schools. It's very useful. And then when you're old enough, you can drive. And I think it's a kind of, shall we say, accepted things. Like, for example, we think it's a good idea to wear a seatbelt. Yeah, it's a good idea to wear a seatbelt.
Yeah.
A good idea to wear a crash helmet if you're on a motorbike. Yeah, good idea. But should it be compulsory? I don't know. You think about it.
Force in that respect could be a fine or a penalty, which is again a violation of natural law.
Yeah, because I think it's a thing like, for example, schools have got a 30-mile speed limit or 20-mile speed limit. You don't have to have a speed limit or speed cameras or anything like that. You just design the road so you can't go over 20 miles an hour. That's the way you design the road. You can have obstacles and things like that. But the fact is, it's when you get into a car now, you are automatically, I don't know whether you feel like this, Steve, you feel like a criminal. There's signs up, speed cameras looking at you, do this, do that. And if you go into Harlow, it says, we do not accept bad driving and all this sort of. Drive down Zelinsky Way. Zelinsky Avenue. Yeah, seriously, they've got that in Harlow, Zelinsky Avenue. You drive up the road a bit more. Yeah, and they got Mandela Avenue as well. I wonder what politics Harlow is. But no, seriously.
Can I let you know a secret? I don't look at signs. I use the principles of natural law and objective morality when I'm driving.
Yeah.
Seriously. So that's probably the best thing you can ever do if you want to be safe on the roads, is follow the principles of an established conscience.
Very good point. And I actually think that, all right, everybody goes through a teenage stage where you're going, your testosterone's going through the bleeding roof and you go, you're driving like a maniac. But everybody goes through that stage, yes.
Yeah.
But then I think if we listen to like they do in the tribal world, they listen to their elders.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't drive like that because you wouldn't want to be shown up amongst the rest of the people.
Yeah, exactly. Shunned by your society. Yeah.
That's right. And I think that it would be, for example, I don't believe in cameras. It should be illegal to have speed cameras and parking cameras. These people are making a fortune out of it.
I agree. And I'd get rid of all of that.
It's just natural politeness. We brought
again, it might sound a little bit alien to some people, but these are essentially transgressions of natural law, and all of these are designed. There is an ostensible premise where some of these things are designed for what they say your safety, but essentially it's because our safety is what they use as a mind control trick to control, tyrannize, enslave, coerce, manipulate, and monetize us as products.
It's all that. But what got me, I was in a well-known DIY store the other day. I won't mention which one. And someone came over here, the loudspeaker. For your safety, we have security. We have security cameras. Was a bloody roof going to fall in if they ain't got the security cameras there? So for your safety, security cameras. What's unsafe? Is the mafia gonna sort of buy some cement to put some concrete boots on me or something? I mean, what is this for your safety? We have security cameras. No, what can they say? We think you're a bleeding crook, and we got the camera looking at you. Well, to be honest, I mean,
Yeah.
don't nick anything, or but that's it. But I don't know. Anyway, we got here. Sean has said men cannot write laws, or laws contractual legal term of writ because it's impossible. Yes. Or it's like Cockney rhyming slang, isn't it? You go for a lawyer's writ. Sorry, think about it. Rhyming slang. Anyway, it feels like Paul says. It feels like we are in a slower version of I Am Legend. It's as though some people cannot see us.
Yeah. I agree with that. But here's another one, which I think this is what the world's like. A film called Idiocracy. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's funny,
No.
and it's like, wow, this is so true.
Always a good one. And again, I'm sorry if I'm missing some of your comments out. Please don't take it personal. Don't send the boys around tomorrow. You left some of our comments out. We don't like that, do we? No. Anyway, that's not very good at Italian accent. The purpose, Sean Hamer says, the purpose of the Truth Movement was to install a Kabbalistic New Age cult, and it worked to perfection, sadly. Yes, I agree with you. It is a cult. Yes. Very much a cult. And Nathan and I think you was in on it, we've talked about this quite a lot. Edward Bernays put bacon cells up, laugh out loud, with eggs for breakfast.
Yeah,
which was against his religion, wasn't it? Yeah. Was it? He sued, this is Akamonse. He sued his niece to sell cigarettes effectively.
Yeah, I think he had something to do with that as well.
That's right. He got society ladies. I think he paid ladies because before the 1930s, it was not considered proper for ladies to smoke when men smoked. And he got society ladies to walk along with garters, with cigarette packets in the garters, smoking.
Ah, that's right, yeah.
Yes.
So these things work.
Oh, they do. Edward Bernays, yes. And he said, we got... Sean Hamer said, hang on, we're going back here, sorry. No such thing as nukes. True that, yes. Yes. And Sean Hamer agrees, 100%. And we got here an excellent example to show how easy it is to brainwash the world. That's right. Yes. And meanwhile...
Yeah, the whole world's brainwashed.
Elon's making fireworks in the skies.
Yeah, he's another brainwasher.
Oh, yes. Well, I think the word puppet brings some to mind.
Oh, yeah, very
NASA.
much.
Never another shady agent. Need another shady agency. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm very suspicious of these people that become... You see, to get money in this world, you either inherit it, you're very lucky, or you're bloody ruthless.
Yeah.
And all right, there have been some rags to riches stories, nice people like actors and people like that. But I think I'm very suspicious of Mr. Nice Guy, who everything he touches turns to gold. Really? Yeah. Yes. Now we got here. Sean Hamer says it's not hay fever season, it's pesticide and fertilizer season. Yeah, I agree. Not present in the world prior to oil extraction and chemical production. I agree with you. There, yes. We got here, Paul, you can travel in a car at 70 miles an hour and you wear a seatbelt, but you can be packed like sardines on a train at 100 miles an hour and no protection at all.
Yeah, point, exactly. Or on a motorbike. You don't need a seatbelt on a motorbike. Oh, yeah. I had a motorbike accident. That was another injury story.
Really?
Yeah.
That must have been a bit. I mean, I came off my push bike once, and I was cold for about half an hour.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't get any concussion. I just sort of woke up. And it's actually, when you sort of come out of being knocked out, you're in cloud cuckoo land for a while. It's all, hey.
Right?
You know,
Wow.
but then about half hour later, the shot comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But no, how'd you come off your motorbike? I mean, do you have a helmet on? Or
How? Yeah, I had a helmet on. I got sideswiped by a car who decided he was playing silly buggers, trying to overtake the car in front, and didn't see me in the near side lane and knocked me off sideways.
Nasty.
I think I'd done several somersaults. Not very graceful. Landed on my back.
Oh, no.
And I had a lovely motorbike, got smashed up.
Oh, no. Did you get an insurance payout, or did
broke a few ribs?
Oh, dear.
No, he actually. Do you know what? He stopped. I'll tell you a funny story about that. The kid was a young lad, and he said, "Oh, sorry, mate, I was in a hurry." And yeah, fair enough. He's in a hurry. He said, "Listen, would you mind if I drop my friend off?" I don't know what he was doing. He was in a hurry to drop his friend off. He said, "Would you mind if I drop my friend off and I'll come back?" And he did.
Really?
You know,
that's good morals. We all make mistakes, don't we? That's why they put erasers on the end of pencils, isn't it? Because we make mistakes.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's good of him, isn't it? Really, when he come to think about it.
Yeah. You know, so human beings can be nice people. They can be honest, and you know.
Yeah, I think 99% of people are nice. I really do. Probably more. Really, when you think about it, people are very, very helpful, very kind. I mean, when I was knocked out, I was actually on a cycleway, and some school kids found me, and they're very, very good. They phoned the ambulance. I said, "No, it's all right. I don't need an ambulance." And I walked back, and they helped me out. It's quite something.
Yeah.
But no, I think that it is dangerous on a bike and cycle and that. But I suppose you was glad you was wearing a crash helmet. I wasn't wearing a helmet when I came off.
Oh no,
yeah.
I wish I was wearing a crash helmet on my arse.
I tell you what I like. There's I often follow someone on YouTube. There's a lady that's going around the world, and she's actually, you know, as I was saying earlier, in Iraq and Iran. And what I like is that they go through red lamps in Iraq. There's a red light. They're in Baghdad. And they just drive straight through it, but everything seems to be okay. You know, come to a T junction. They sort of work it out for themselves. Don't worry about traffic lights and things like that.
Yeah, I've been at companies like that where they. It's just, wow.
But you know, I suppose it's a question of when they're telling the children, "Wait till Daddy comes home." It's usually if Daddy comes home. but the thing is, you don't see many accidents in those places. I suppose you know,
and I think that helps. It probably does help subconsciously. People develop their own thoughts. You know, their own moral thinking.
Yeah.
You know, nobody will go out and just.
I suppose it's like India, where you got a cow sort of wandering on the motorway. We're just sort of driving around it. Where in this country, they stop the motorway. They get cool.
Yeah.
There'll be tailback. Oh no, they just there's a cow there somewhere. You know, drive, and they see some bloke on a push bike. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I don't think they even have a driving test today in some of those countries. You just get in, which is fine. I don't mind. I'm not just getting a drive, so that's great. Now, Hadji says, we've got Mandela Way in Southampton. All the terrorists live here. Laugh out loud. Yeah. Now, it says here, we live in a world where the doors fall off aeroplanes. Do they give you a parachute? Yes, I suppose we do, really. Now, they purposely obscure the word law with the contractual legal term. Law, true folklore, is how we live naturally in a do no harm manner for the betterment of all, as per innate and true nature. Yes, I agree.
That's a really good point. I mean, he kind of picked up something called the golden rule of humanity as well, which is fundamental in pretty much every culture and religion going, which is the fundamental law is to do no harm to others and treat others as you would want to be treated yourself. If that's your understanding,
That's how I was brought up.
Yeah,
that's
then
what
you
my
don't
parents
need
drummed
to
into
know
me.
anything else. Essentially, if you've got that understanding.
I agree with you. I agree. My mum and dad drummed that into me from early age.
Yeah.
Treat others how you like to be treated, and that's it. So
The golden rule.
Our poems. Hello, our poems. Hi, Chris and Steve. That's nice. That's nice.
Hello.
And it says here, Louise Wilcox says, parents are no longer the child's authority. They are breaking down the natural law of tribal upbringing. Yes, our dear and gracious leader, Keir Stalin, he's doing that. Yes.
Well, children are now property of the state, and the parents are the pair who rent the child off the state.
Yes, it's a terrible thing. Hereditous Get Fucked, I like that name. Torn between two Ubers, driving like a fool, breaking all the rules. Yes. Stig, morning all, morning Stig. How's New Zealand?
Hello.
All right, because it's you're just getting over summer, aren't you? Is it you're entering? No, I think you're still midsummer in New Zealand, aren't you? And
He's got a
bloody
nice
cold
car.
midwinter. Yeah, it is, isn't it? That's a lovely car.
Love
isn't
it.
Very nice. Are you a bit of a petrol head as well? I love cars. I tell you what, I've always wanted the Mustang out of Bullitt.
Lovely. Oh, nice.
V8.
Yeah, I love the American cars. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Class.
There was a where I used to work. The bloke who owned a Trans Am. He was contract bloke in Canada, and he bought it in Canada. And he had it shipped over, and it was a left-hand drive. And yeah, that's it, left hand. And it used to when you go into the car park, it used to go that V8 rumble.
Nice, yeah.
And hang on, it's a V8. It might be a V16. I'm not sure. Trans Ams, were they V16s or V8? But bloody hell,
I know.
mind,
Nice
petrol.
Yeah.
I think he did almost like a tank. It did about 10 to the gallon or something ridiculous on it.
Yeah.
It was, now it says,
Oh,
hello, Maureen. Hi, Chris and Steve. Hello, Maureen. Now, we got here, Louise Wilcox says, Benjamin Zephaniah, which I can't pronounce his surname, done a song, Big Brother's Watching You. Orwell told everyone, but then he was a Mason. Yes. Was he? I didn't know that. But
No, I don't know. Oh,
I know.
Meanwhile, is Truth Seekers Northeast. Big shout out.
And by the way, Stick, we didn't find out, is the moon upside down in New Zealand? So that we want to find out, you see, from last night. And we're not going on the flat Earth tonight. No. It's peeing us all off, actually. Because we had John on. Well, we did for a short time before his computer went up. And we was talking about his new book. And all it was flat Earth all the time. It's nothing about flat Earth. It's about the bloody Antarctic, you know. Now, he paid movie stars to wear wristwatches to help sell them.
Very
that's
clever.
not Benjamin Zephaniah. That must have been Edward Bernays, I would have thought.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's
because you know the mini car, they gave them to people like Peter Sellers and famous people, so they'd be seen in the mini, and that's how they got them quite famous. Because between you and I don't rate the mini very highly. The early ones were shit. I think there was much better cars around, you know.
Oh yeah.
I must showed it. Yes, I can't read this one out because we're on YouTube, but I agree with you.
I think that was very staged by the looks of it. It didn't look organic to me.
It didn't, did it? Yes.
It looked unnatural.
Most car drivers don't see bikers. It's got worse over the years, especially this time of the year when their windscreens are steamy.
Oh yeah.
And do you know something? When you I haven't cycled for 2 months. It's been too cold. I went out. I think it was yesterday. I
hope you had your Lycra on.
No, I was like a bloody Eskimo. And I tell you something. I realised how unfit I was. It sounded like an obscene phone calls. Christ, if you haven't cycled for a couple of months, it's surprising how your fitness drops. I mean, I could just do 6 miles straight off, no problem. I got about 4.5 miles. I was,
Yeah.
yes, but now Hitch, I came off a bike
Wow.
at 80. Bloody Nora walked away,
Wow.
cut me hedge, cut away a hedge, fell off the ladder,
Wow.
knocked myself out and got 9 stitches. Luckily, my neighbour found me out cold. Yes. Oh, well, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, very kind, Paul. Don't forget to tag a like. Thanks, mate. That's much appreciated.
Brilliant.
Yes, it's amazing what we get up and walk away from. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Did you
Well, I
know
was
that
doing
word?
50 when I came off, and 80. God, wow, he's lucky.
Well, I got knocked off of a bike many years ago, and I was uphill. Now, how many miles an hour are you doing uphill? 3 miles an hour? Not very much. I was
Yeah.
surprised how far I skidded. At 3
Really?
miles an hour. Yeah. I sort of,
Wow.
because a lorry cut me up, and I just I thought, do I go under the wheel or do I dive for the pavement? So I dived for the pavement. I think that was the better option, you know. Now, but did you know that word, which I can't mention on YouTube, means actually? And I don't know how true this is. I heard somewhere that you used to have to get years and years ago permission from the king to have children. I very much doubt that.
Right.
And it was fornication under king's, or that C is not king, something king. I don't know.
No.
I don't know. So I'm treading carefully on that one. If anybody knows,
it was just something you said when you hurt yourself.
Well, that's right. That's right. Because did you know that Jesus was going to be called Fred until Mary knocked her toe up? Sorry. And now, Akamonse said, Law General 126, we give you dominion of the land, and all that creepeth, crawleth. We give you dominion of the air, and all that flies. We give you dominion of the water, and all that swims. Law. That's interesting. And
Genesis.
What's that? Shui law originates the superior rights.
Right, I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know. No, law equals land, air, and water.
Oh,
Now
right.
I've learned something now. I didn't know. Yeah, so that's like news,
isn't it?
it?
But that's interesting.
It's like news is north, east, south, and west, isn't it?
Yeah.
News.
That's it. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I've not seen that written before. Law as well. I mean, if you use the Latin phrase, it comes from the word lex, which means a right. And that's what, I said earlier about the moral difference or the objective difference between right and wrong. Well, a law in its a kind of original context, lex, is a right, which is, and you could also say it's an effect which cannot be changed. So,
that's right.
Or essentially the rights or the immutable rights given by God, which cannot be changed. That's it in a nutshell.
Alas, God didn't say that deed corporations and any other man could be your boss. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's written into... Maureen's got a... I knew she was doing something poetry related. So Our Poems. Yeah, brilliant.
Our Poems is my other YouTube channel. What is your other YouTube channel? Come on, give a good promotion. And I mean, I only charge 3 Fock Bobs for an advert, so there we go. So downloadable from Fock'em All Radio. So there we are. So by the way, my website needs it's starting to get a bit. I don't know quite what's happened, but Google's knocked all the links off, so I've got to redo the website. So it's not looking very good at the moment. So I've got to do that. Got to get my finger out and do that. So Our Poems. So where's your other channel then? We got here. What was it? They are doing their best to break down. This is Paul. To break down the family spirit with games, consoles, and phones. But even when travelling, none talks to each other on the train or bus all have
Yeah.
heads down on their phones. Yes.
So these are little things that we, as truthers, can start doing. We can
Yeah.
implement all this.
Yeah.
Nobody's forcing us not to be sociable and not to be friendly.
Hello, Robert. Hey,
Hello.
evening, Robert. Children have always. Is our minister without portfolio? You found a bloody portfolio yet? You left it on the train? I don't know. Children have always been the chattel of the state. That's right. Once the child is signed over in the form of the birth certificate, the 7-year-old clock then starts running. That's right. That's right. And did you know that P on your passport stands for pauper, apparently? So they
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, that's what I've been told. I haven't checked it out myself. And he said, good evening, all in one. Hello, Robert.
Hello.
And I tell you something, Robert is a very hard worker. He's seriously, he does work very hard.
Good lad.
Good man. Says Robert has said Aisha Monse, I think that's what is it, Aisha Monse. Product placement has been a feature in movies for decades. I agree with you. It's bloody terrible, isn't it?
That's shocking.
I know. I'd never dream of doing that.
Yeah, shocking. Shocking.
Awful. Now I must look that up in this book. Where is it? Now, the salute was a reference to going to Mars. Peak fakery. Mars, Mars, bloody hell. I really.
I wonder if going to Mars was just a euphemism for going to war.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, government. I mentioned government is the word means mind control, but government is a euphemism for slavery.
Oh no, why? Yes, yes. Well, I look on the government as I said earlier, jailers. They're there to jail us. I mean, when you look around the world at governments, the good governments tend to get killed in wars or get booted out. The good ones, I mean, here's the thing, and they become our enemies.
Yeah.
When you look at it, I mean, I'm re-examining lots of historical figures that were supposed to have been nasty. Maybe they weren't. We just don't know. You know, this is the funny thing. You know, and
speaking of government, I mentioned the founding fathers earlier on. James Madison was a founding father, and I'm pretty sure he was a president as well of the United States. He said if men were angels, government would not be necessary. But there is another caveat to that. If men are not angels, that means none of them are fit to rule. So we need to understand that principle as well.
Well, also, I mean, when you always talking about earlier about doing what you're told. Now, I've said this before, so you probably get bored with this. The Boer War, because I'm rather interested in modern history. The Boers were South Afrikaans farmers. And the British Army, the 1900s, I think it's 1900, 1902, something like that. 1999, 1903, some I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But it's the Boer War. We then had one of the most advanced armies in the world. We had the most modern weapons. We very, very efficient, very well disciplined. Yet the only way we could beat the Boer farmers, who did no real ranks, no real discipline as such, they worked in trees. They say, we're going to hold up those British tonight. No, we've got to milk the cows, so we do it tomorrow. Okay, that was apparently that was the level. But they were very successful, incredibly, and they fought this massive army, even though the British army was small in those days. But they took them on, and the only way the British could beat them was to scorched earth policy. By putting their families in concentration camps and burning their families.
Oh, yeah, I remember you saying that.
Only way.
Yeah.
Now, you think about it, how and similar has happened in other parts of the world, this scorched earth policy. I think we did the same in Malaya. in the 50s. The way we beat the people, the opposition there, we did the same. We put people into camps and burnt their homes down, and burnt down, did the scorched earth policy, and that's what the Americans tried to do in Vietnam, but they couldn't. It wasn't because the stuff was coming down from it was coming from all areas, so it didn't work there. But yes.
Well, I wonder if they're doing a scorched earth policy in California and Hawaii. That's a bit weird, is it not?
Blue homes that have not had blue roofed homes that haven't been caught light. And you see the trees perfectly green, and then something burns out next to it.
Yeah, that's not normal.
No, but nor was the Great Fire of London, because that went against the wind.
Yeah,
the wind was blowing, which the fire doesn't do normally. But that's Professor Moss. We did a show on that. Now it says, yes, brief encounter, 1945. Sold time to England. The clock was in every shot. Still then, Bristol was 3 minutes behind London.
All right.
Yes. And Lewis Wilcox, this Robert Doyle says, too right. We're seeing the debauchery of almost Romanesque proportions. I 100% agree with you, mate. I 100% agree with you.
I think there'll be civil war in America. There'll be civil uprising across Europe, and there'll be the fall of Rome.
Do you really think that?
I think that's quite possible.
And Sean Hamer has said, Capitus dimitito maxima.
Well, I'm not sure what dimittuio means. I don't know what that means. So I'm going to guess capitis means head, maxima is big.
Don't know. I didn't do that when I was at school. But that's interesting. Anyone translate that? Robert, yes. Edward Bernays was around circa 1925 onwards. Yes, because he was the propaganda minister for the United States during First World War, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
This is here is Akamonse says fornication under consent king. That's what it means. Yeah, so that's interesting. And what we just said is also 6th century German, meaning to strike. And also, if you're in Germany, if you want to travel, you fart. Because you see the word fart everywhere. Yeah, it says fart. House fart. House fart is going out. Yeah. It's German. No, it says here, fornication, this is Louis Wilcox, it says fornication under consent of king. Well, he can fornicate with himself. Well, by the look of him, it looks as if he already has, Yeah. Now, it says, now, this is an interesting one. Could the guerrilla tactics adopted by the Boers been an early template for special forces? That's one for you, Steve. I don't know. That's interesting.
It wouldn't surprise me if. I don't think historically it was mentioned, but it's bound to have had an effect. Actually, who was it? The Rangers during the American Civil Wars. That was an early template for special forces.
Really?
Yeah, the American Rangers. Was it? I forget the name of the guy. But they used to go out in small teams and, to do very sneaky beaky stuff before.
Yeah. Pretty hairy stuff. And but what do you think about it? Those people, it's a bit like the 101st Airborne Division during World War II. They become crack troops because they was always in the toughest of positions. And they were always surrounded. Well, my dad's lot, he was in the front line intelligence. They had one of the highest casualty rates. They were nearly always surrounded. And luckily, a lot of them could speak German. Now, what we got here? Oh, hang on, we got a lot of stuff here. We've got a lot of meat on the bone here. Yes, Paul. When Lincoln freed the slaves, he freed no one. He made them citizens.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, the American Civil War has been made. They say it's about slavery. It's not about slavery. It was something completely different. It's about taxes and that. And there was regiments of black people. I'm not saying that word, black people, but people, and they were fighting for the South. They don't tell you that, but that's true. They actually fought for the South, and they were not conscripted. It was all volunteer. And their Third World War, Stephen Truthseeker agenda has lost power and won't happen.
It depends on which part of the war he's talking about, I guess, because as far as I'm concerned, we're in a war now, which you could say is the Third World War. It's just they didn't declare it on anybody.
No,
not formally, but I presume he's meaning a kinetic general type war. Okay, well, to be fair, I don't see why it couldn't happen if that's what they want to do.
What I find difficulty in is when you see Ukraine against Russia, and their culture is so similar, and it's like in future. I mean, today, could you imagine us fighting Germany? No, because their culture was so similar.
You're right, but the thing is, and this is where it's important to understand objective morality, and if, for example, police and military who are order followers, if they get told to go to war, it doesn't matter if they like the people from that country. They'll just do what they're told to do. This is why.
That's right. But what about conscripts who are press ganged into it? That's a different thing, because they reckon one volunteer is worth 5 conscripts, don't they? That was his term.
Yeah, but if you held under force, conscripted under force through threat of death, that's different to just being asked to volunteer for a financial reward. And that's In
that situation, I'd practicing surrendering very quickly. There was a war, wasn't there? There was not one shot fired in the Victorian times, because they sent a gunboat, a dreadnought, and the word dreadnought put fear of God in people. And what happened? They saw this dreadnought coming over the horizon, and they put the white flags up immediately. They thought, bloody hell, we're not going to stand there.
Wow.
The place would be flattened by it. Now, Thomas Paine lived in Lewes. Did he really, Akamonsi? He was a tax collector, wrote The Rights of Man, an outstanding epistole. That's interesting.
No, I didn't know that.
And
a tax collector. Wow.
Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine was 18th century, I think. What happened
in
1898? 1898.
I'm familiar with the name, but I'd have to do a little bit of research to do that.
Now, I think we're talking about the Boer War here. Churchill met Gandhi there on Skeon Hop, where the Liverpool Sadia got its nickname.
Okay. He's a fountain of knowledge, I can say.
Bloody hell, that is a fountain of knowledge, yes. And Mullane says, govern your mind.
Yeah.
Gandhi was a water bearer. Was he? And said also Churchill was a dickhead. Yes, I'd agree with you there. Yes. He was a paid-for politician, as far as I'm concerned.
He was a warmonger and buffoon.
Oh, he was. Yes. Now this is an interesting one. Oh, sorry, I already read that one, haven't I? About the guerrilla tactics of the Boers. Yes. Because now it says the rise and fall of the Roman Empire is a handbook, not a novel. Yeah.
Right.
Because Byzantine Empire, that's what it emerged into, wasn't it? The Byzantine. What about Hurricane Helene? No one talks about it. Thousands gone missing. Absolute destruction
Yeah.
of whole communities. Total cover-up. I agree with you.
Yeah. There needs to be some further investigation into all of that.
Now, we've got... Now, play silence, please. Because after this long time, Paul, who was the first one on tonight, says, can I request a raspberry for Joe Biden? Yes, this needs a very special... Must clear the throat first. Oh, hang on, it's America, isn't it? It was a one-finger salute. Yes, Joe Biden. But actually, are you sure Joe Biden exists? It's people in Mars. But did you see that when inauguration of Trump and Biden's sitting there? He's in blinking. He doesn't know whether he's having a crap or haircut, does he? He's sitting there. Well, Mr. Biden,
Yeah,
you're having
I've not seen it yet.
Yeah, you haven't missed much. Now let's have a quick whiz down. Now this is
Eric. You're gonna have to let me relieve myself for a moment. I'm crossing my legs here.
Well, we're coming to the end of the show, actually.
Oh, well, fair enough.
So thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been
Thanks for having me.
Bloody brilliant tonight. It really is. Thank you so much. It really is. And
Thanks, mate.
Well, you're a regular now. You always have been a regular on the show. It's brilliant. We're supposed to have Katrina tonight, who's going to talk about trusts, but she's having a bit of domestic problems.
Yeah.
A dog's dying, so that's sad.
All right,
she
well.
didn't feel up to it, so she's going to come on next Monday. Okay. Thanks for filling in, mate. It's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks again. Thanks for listening, guys.
Well, I've learnt a lot tonight. It's much appreciated. And as I often say, whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh and good night. Thank you very much. And if you could kindly put your thumbs up, that would be very, very helpful. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. It really does, help a lot. And if you're feeling particularly generous, you could buy me a coffee. Details are down in the description box. And of course, there's a website, all the W's, FockhamHallRadio.com. That's long here. And why not pop into my Telegram channel? Again, details are in the description box. And also, you could also have a look at my Facebook page as well. That's also in the description box as well. Thank you very much. And good night. Or if you're elsewhere in the world, good afternoon or good morning.